In order to get awesome results, you really need to know how to get to the root of everything that's going on. And most people just deal with these superficial issues all the time. Driven Mofos, welcome back to another episode of The Underestimated Entrepreneur. All right, let's talk about problems and problem solving. You all know that in order to get the results that you want, you've got to overcome obstacles and you have to solve problems. One of the core issues that most people face is that they don't know how to define real core problems. What they're doing is they're always dealing with superficial issues. So I would say that on an average week, 90 to 95% of all the people that I deal with, whether it's through coaching, whether it's through business consulting, whether it's through dealing with my own team, but the majority of people deal with superficial problems and then wonder why they get superficial solutions, which then lead to more superficial problems, and it just keeps repeating the cycle. So if you're somebody who feels like you're stuck, maybe you're stuck with your health, maybe you're stuck with drinking alcohol, maybe you're stuck with using drugs, maybe you're stuck with communication issues in your intimate relationship. Whatever the issue is, it's probably a deeper seated issue that you're not dealing with. I'll give you an example. When a lot of people come to me and they say, I drink. I say, why do you drink alcohol? And they go, well, because it's just, it helps me to relax. Well, that's a superficial answer. Just like I want to stop drinking because I know that it affects me, but at the same time, it helps me with my stress. Sort of like a superficial resolution to a superficial problem. The question is, why do you need alcohol to deal with your stress? Now, if you ask that question, people are like, well, it's just the only tool that I know. So now we can go a little bit deeper. Well, why is that the only tool? Okay, well, maybe I haven't learned enough. Maybe I need to learn better tools to deal with stress. Okay, now we can move a little bit deeper. If someone comes along and they say, I keep having cash flow issues in my business. Now, I'll give you a real life case. One of my clients rang up and said that he took an employee back probably about a year and a half ago. Now, this employee left many years ago to start his own business. Now, he started his own business because he wasn't happy with how much he was getting paid. Now, no one's fucking happy with how much they get paid in most cases. So this person leaves, starts his own business so that he can make more money. He runs the business for 2 to 3 years and then realizes that he's still broke. And in fact, he has more debt now. So then he goes, shit, in order to solve my debt, running a business is a really bad idea because I don't know how to run a business. I'm stressed. I'm working more. And really, I'm not earning any more. So then he goes back and gets his old job back, right? So he begs my client to go have his job back. Now, because he was a good employee, my client's taken him back. Well, a year on, this staff member he finds out has decided to start his own business again because he's not earning enough. And now he has quoted jobs that they're quoting on. And it's put my client in a very difficult situation where now he's going to have to go and fire this guy. Now, when I look at that, this guy keeps trying to solve a superficial problem with a superficial solution. So he says, I'm not getting paid enough money, yet he's on a good wage. It's well above the average. But he's getting paid good, but he thinks that he has a money problem when he actually has a spending problem. So the issue that this guy has is that the more money he makes, the more money he spends, which keeps him in this revolving door. Now, he doesn't answer the question as to why do I keep spending so much money? Now, I know why it is, and my client knows why it is, because he's trying to keep up with all of his friends. He's also in an intimate relationship where his partner or his wife wants to live this amazing lifestyle, but doesn't want her husband to work that much. So the husband works, starts making good money. The wife then goes and lives a luxury lifestyle with a Range Rover and all the nice shit to try and keep up with all of her friends. But all of her friends and their partners don't work, they don't have businesses, so they work 9 to 5 jobs. Now, because this person wants to look like they're doing better than all her friends, she's outspending them. And because she's outspending them and because he's outspending them, they look like they're highly successful and they have a lot of money. But they actually have a lot of debt. Now, when we look at that problem, what's the real root underlying cause? It's not a money problem, because if you throw more money into a fire, you just need more money to keep throwing into the fire because it just burns all the cash. They don't have a money-making problem. They have a spending problem. Now, because they're not dealing with the spending problem, they just keep going in this vicious cycle. And when he's in this cycle where he doesn't have enough money, he gets greedy. And when he's greedy, he goes to the boss, or he goes and thinks, I'm going to start my own business. But after a 2 to 3 year cycle, he forgets that, before he had a job and he had this same problem. And because he had that problem, now he goes out and starts a business. And when he has a business, he can't run it for shit because he's a crap business owner. The reason why he's running a business is just to make more money, which isn't really a great reason to run a business, right? Most people who come to me with high stress levels and they're burnt out normally operate a business just to make money. That's their only reason. Now, look, I love making money, but that's not the reason why I run a business. I run a business because it forces me to grow. It forces me to be better. I have to consistently learn, to grow, to adapt, to develop. It helps me to enhance my leadership skills. It helps me to improve my communication skills. I have more influence, which means I can go out and connect with other high level, high-minded, high likely, to achieve great things people. That's why I have a business, not just for the money. I've never met someone who is highly successful and highly competent in money who just does it for cash. There's normally underlying reasons why they do it, right? Because it's tough. Business is extremely tough. Like you get up in the morning, you get the shit kicked out of you, and then you go to bed. If you love that, like a boxer loves boxing. They love getting in the ring and they love getting hit. It's a little bit nervous at first, but once they get into the swing of things, they love it. So business is very much the same. But unless you get to the underlying reason why you do what you do, and you get to the underlying core reasons for your problems, you'll keep repeating them. Now, some of you out there have relationship issues where you keep repeating the same relationship issue. It's probably because you're dealing with superficial issues, not deep issues. When I have clients who have relationship problems, they'll come along and say, my partner's disconnected. And I sit there and I go, but why? What's going on for that person? When did it change? What's been happening in their life? And then normally we can get to the deeper reasons. This is why I'm one of the best coaches in the planet, because I dive into the deeper level shit instead of just staying at the superficial level and then trying to work on that stuff. Like I hear people, they'll go to therapy and they talk about their problems all the time. That doesn't help. It does not help, right? Scientific data and scientific literature shows that talking about your problems does not help solve problems. Now, for a woman, that works better than men because women normally need to express their thoughts and ideas in order to be able to solve their problems. Men, on the other hand, don't work like that. Men want to communicate with someone who is highly competent, who can give them the right advice, help them solve the problem so they can keep moving forward. They're two completely different strategies. In our westernized culture, we deal with masculine problems in feminine ways. So we want men to talk more. But then most men realize that talking doesn't solve any problems and it doesn't do shit. And so they get caught in a problem and then they just bitch and moan and whinge. Or even worse, they spiral in this downhill spiral of depression where they feel like they're not good enough or they're not achieving. And, sometimes it can end in pretty bad ways. What my point is that we have to keep asking why. Why does that happen? Now, there's a point to where we need to change it. Right? So I wouldn't recommend keep asking why. Why leads down a rabbit hole. My recommendation is to ask why at least 2 or 3 times, and then how or what. How do we change it, or what do I need to do to change it? So we go why? Maybe you could ask 3 times. That's a good strategy. Why? So why is my relationship having problems? Well, because we don't communicate effectively. Well, why don't we communicate effectively? There's the first ask. Well, we don't communicate effectively because we don't set time aside. Well, why don't we set time aside? Well, because we're both busy and then we start arguing when we do set time aside and it makes it uncomfortable. Okay, well, why do we do that? Well, because we don't know how to communicate effectively. Okay, perfectly. So now we know that there's a communication issue and we both need to learn how to communicate more effectively. So now what are we going to do, or how are we going to do something different? That means now we're going to get better results versus staying stuck in the superficial shit that most people live in and then wonder why they keep repeating the same crap. So after this episode, I recommend that you go back, look at an area of your life where you're stuck or where you keep repeating patterns, whether it's finances, health and well-being, whether it's relationships, intimate, family, friends, communication problems at work, whatever it is. It might be financial patterns. Go and have a look at those. It might be mental health patterns. Ask why, at least a minimum of 3 times, and then go into what are we going to do differently, or how are we going to do it differently? And then start working on a process to bridge that gap. When you do that, you'll probably really solve the underlying issue instead of repeating the same crap over and over and over again. Anyway, Driven Mofos, I hope that helps. If you're a business leader or a business owner, that will help heaps, because our job as leaders, as business owners, or as managers should be to get to the root cause of problems. If not, we are destined to repeat them. So make sure you get to the root cause of the problem. This is why teaching people how to communicate effectively and how to lead effectively or manage people effectively is an absolute game changer. It's probably the number one thing I do for business owners. But also there's a lot of families out there who lack leadership, who lack management of the family dynamic, and that can cause problems as well. Same as in an intimate relationship. If you're not leading yourself, then it's hard to lead your partner. If you're not leading your partner effectively, then maybe they're not going to change. So take that responsibility, be a great leader, ask good questions, and then ask the right questions in order to work on something different or in order to change behaviors or patterns. Anyway, Driven Mofos, I hope this helps. Keep kicking massive goals, and I look forward to joining me back here once again on another episode of The Underestimated Entrepreneur. Most people waste their life, and I just don't want you to be one of them.